In this video, guys, we're going to look at charting within the CoreSpreads trading platform. Stay tuned. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. Alright, so this video is sponsored by our channel sponsor, CoreSpreads. Go and check them out. There's a link in the description below. CFDs, spread bets, all that good stuff. Nice tight spreads on some of the bigger major instruments, specifically like DAX and Dow, S&P, all that good stuff, and obviously the Forex pairs. So go and check them out, link in the description below. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to go into the CoreSpreads platform in a moment. We're going to bring up the chart and look at all the actual things that we can do within the chart, specifically the drawing tool, because actually it's pretty comprehensive for a broker's platform. We know brokers' charts aren't always that great, but these are okay. They do the job, and you can do a lot of kind of annotations and bits and pieces we're going to look at in a moment. Now, this is their CoreTrader 2 platform. They also offer MT4. However, if you trade on MT4, the spreads are slightly different, the offering's slightly different. Go and check that out. Like I say, link in the description below, go and see if it's right for you. But if we're within their CoreTrader 2 platform, let's have a look at the chart and let's have a look specifically at the drawing tool and some of the stuff that we can do. All right, let's hit the screens. Okay guys, so I have here the CoreSpreads platform. This is a live account. Demo account is identical. Some of the difference I've noticed is actually with the demo versus the live is that on the demo you can't set an alert, so just remember that if you want to have a play around with the platform. Anyway, so let's have a look at Dow. So what we do is we go to our Wall Street 30 rolling cash, which is their Dow equivalent. We open up a chart, and the nice thing about this, actually I've talked about it before, is that we can open it in a browser tab. So we open the chart in a browser tab. I'm not interested in trading, so I'm going to get rid of that trade for now, and we can see what we've got. So we've got a broad, this is kind of set up how I've got it, which I've got an ATR on the bottom here. You know what, I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff just so it's a bit clearer. Let's get rid of that, let's get rid of moving average. They've got various bits and pieces here, but what I want to focus on this video specifically is this tool here. So this little pencil or pen drawing tool, click on that, and then you have a select tool drop down. So in the select tool drop down, you can clear everything off, and you can do a few things. So measure allows you to measure between 2 points. So you go, right, okay, measure between 2 points. That was 169 points over 6 bars. Great. So you can clear drawings, you can go measure again, you can go, right, so what about from here to here? So I can start to see, so I can either click on it and it will say, remember what it was, or I can just hover. So let's say, why is this useful? Let's say I want to see, you know, what's happened since this low here, for example. I can go, right, look at that crosshair. I can just go distance in price, so I can keep my horizontal crosshair on that high and go, right, that's 292 points. If I want to know the bars, I can go, okay, 16 bars. I look down the bottom here on a 15-minute chart just for information. All right, so now I want to see, okay, so how far have we gone from low to high for this current high? So 381 points, interesting. So I can start to use, you know, what I've talked about a few times on the channel, guys, is like measuring the rotation. So very easily I can see, okay, well that's 134 points, etc. In fact, you know what, let's go to a 5-minute chart and actually do that. And down here is the easy way of changing it. So let's look at today, for example. So we can get the measuring tool out and go, right, let's look at some rotations from today. So let's start on this one here. So that rotation down here was about 47 points. Great. So now I can check it again and I can go, right, 57 points, interesting. Here to here, 53 points. Oh, this looks a little bit bigger, this one. This was just after the opens, it's not surprising, it was 93 points. This one is 60 points, 57. All right, so I'm starting to get an interest. And let's go down this rabbit hole of this, but you guys know this is something that's interesting. So it's quite a nice tool to be able to use. It's this measure tool. So you have to see the bars, the percentage, and the number of points, which is always useful. All right, let's go back to the 15-minute. And let's see what else we've got. So we've got the measure, got clear drawings, got all this other stuff. So we've got annotation. Annotation pretty much as you'd expect. You know, I don't know, we could put whatever we want here. Dip potential, if we wanted to annotate that. Click on save, and there's our annotation. And we can drag it and move it. So, you know, let's say for whatever reason, let's say we wanted to annotate, not the greatest text to do, but you get the point. You could annotate and say FOMC. You could annotate and say, you know, it was coming up to a long weekend, or you could just do something that's something useful for you. So right click on that to delete. So that's handy. Okay guys, so let's look at average line. So average line, as far as I'm aware, I'm not familiar with this, I'm going to be honest with you. this looks to me like you bracket the time, the period that you're looking at. So let's say we're bracketing from that high to, let's say, this low, and it's going to tell you the average price based on, I'm assuming, the closes, but it's going to give you kind of a mean midpoint of all the price between those two levels, because actually as I'm moving this, I've just done a new one there, I can't actually change where it is on the vertical scale. I can only do the horizontal scale. So it looks to me as if it's going to give you an average price point over the time period that you're doing it. So that's pretty interesting. I'm sure there's some useful tool for that. What else have we got? So call out, we've got the call out, which is the same kind of thing. We can write on here, so we put fed, we hit save, and then we can just highlight an area that's again, probably a little bit more powerful than the, let's cancel that, probably a little bit more powerful than the annotate, a little bit more functional. I won't go through all of them. Channel, let's go through some useful ones. Channel, we know channel is a useful one, guys. We just select the top part of the channel and we can just drag, and it does automatically a parallel line for the bottom part of the channel, and of course gives us a little bit of information about the distance. I personally quite like that, the fact that it tells you the number of points, because that to me is in tune with the price action methodology that I like. And then you can just delete it off with a right click, so that's nice. What else have we got? Cross line here, so it's just like a kind of a crosshair. That could be useful to somebody. What else have we got? Let's go down. Doodle is just when we can just write on stuff that we need to. This may be useful. Again, probably better if you want to do something. You can just clear all here, by the way. That's an easy thing to do. Probably better to write a call out specifically, or to put an annotation in. What else have we got? Ellipse. I quite like ellipses, generally speaking, just purely because it enables you to highlight an area, perhaps, and annotate it, or just at least have an area. Perhaps you want to do some business there. What else have we got? Fib retracement. We know what these are all about, guys. We understand fib. Let's clear those off. What else have we got that's reasonably interesting and different? So we've got some different fibs here. We've got the fib retracement, projection, arc, fan, time zones, which is always nice because you can go that way. If you're into fib, you can categorize it and perhaps see some cycles that you wouldn't otherwise have seen. Let's get rid of that for now. What else have we got? Standard things. We've got GAN, we've got Gartley, horizontal line, which is what most people use the most. And you can see here. And also, guys, I don't think I'd point this out. We can change some of the formats. So let's say we want it to be red, and let's say we want it to be thicker. Then when we draw the line, it's going to be red and it's going to be thicker. So we could end up doing different things. So like changing the thickness. Maybe if we wanted to mark off the open. For example, I like to mark off the open if we're on a lower time frame chart. We could have the open where we're 2:30 UK time around here. It could be a dotted yellow, for example. So we've got a bit of functionality there in terms of the colors and the line thickness. So let's get rid of those. What else have we got that's reasonably useful for as a line, which is a freehand line? This extrapolates it out, which is interesting. I've still got the old setting here. Let's go back to that. And let's clear this out. Still the old setting. So yeah, line, that's quite interesting because it's one click, and then as you move it, it extends it across the whole thing. So if I zoom out, and let's say, I don't really want that, I've made a bit of a mess of that. But let's say, again, we wanted to have the line, so I was drawing a kind of mini trend line, didn't want to channel across here. It's quite nice because it does extend it out, so I can go to that high there and it'd extend it for me there, which is a nice little bit of functionality, if you like that. Other things here, regression, we know what regression is, guys. It's automatically put in, so you put it from high to low, and it'll add a regression line in, which is almost like a trend line, best fit trend line, if you like. Sometimes it adds channels on that, doesn't seem to on this one. What else have we got? Some shapes. We draw some arrows. What else have we got in the shapes? Arrows, so to signify if you're going long or going short, annotate your chart. Cross, focus, heart, star, maybe to annotate different things, different trade setups you like, or different chart patterns you like. Other bits here, speed resistant arc, speed resistant line. What is speed resistance? Oh yes, it's this thing. Not something I use, but perhaps something that's useful to you. What else have we got on here? So quite a lot on here actually, to be fair. Time cycle, I do like time cycles. I don't use them so much because I like to visualize, I like to kind of eyeball it, but this is not a bad thing where you can chunk it into cycles. So let's say you wanted to go, right, I want to put a cycle in for the low to high, for example. Right, so that point now, we've put low to high, it will do the same cycles and extend that out. So sometimes you often see the times are the same. So low to high, all right, there's a low here, there's a low here, there's a low here, because there's often symmetry in the market, guys. So sometimes it's going to depend on the time frame, etc., 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 and you probably are better off doing it on something like the daily session as opposed to the 24-hour session here. But it can give you, frame your trade a little bit better for you. I've got other things here, Tyrone levels, trend line, and vertical line. So vertical line, standard thing, but it's always nice to have because you can mark off things like the open, for example. So I like to mark off the open. I like to mark off the close, especially if I'm trading something like this on this instrument. Closes 9 o'clock UK time. I can mark that off there, so I know exactly what's going on and be a bit clearer without having to guess when the open and close was. And then of course we've got trend line. Very simple thing, but nice extra with this because it shows you again the points of the trend, how many points it's gone, how many pips it's gone, and how many bars it's taken. So again, you get a little bit more info than you would if you're just using a plain trend line. Let's get rid of that. I can click on that and right click it. So that's quite nice as well. And give you, this is, I believe, is going to be the backfill and stuff like that, so you can change the font size, bits and pieces. In fact, let's do that. Let's have a little look. Let's clear everything off because trend line is probably the thing that most people will use. I know that I'm quite interested in that, so I want to go from here to here. Oh, I've got a bit crazy with the font size, but you get the idea. We can see what's going on and we can see the font size very clear. You can see the trend line annotates it quite nicely. All right, guys, that is it. That is the CoreSpreads charts. Pretty functional, specifically the drawing tool and what you can do in that. Again, this is a video that's sponsored by CoreSpreads. If you're interested in checking them out, there is a link in the description below. CFDs, spread bet, regulated firm. Go and see if they're right for you. Take care. Bye-bye.